The stars looked beautiful from the bridge of Admiral Velkorin's flagship. 300 warships floated in perfect formation near the Kepler 442 system. The admiral stood tall, his forearms crossed behind his back as he watched the tactical display. Each dot on the screen represented a ship from the coalition fleet. Draven destroyers, Mantid cruisers, and vessels from a dozen other races, all here for one simple mission. They were going to conquer the human colony called New Busan. Velkorin smiled. His intelligence report said the humans were primitive. They had discovered faster-than-light travel only 20 years ago. They had no shield technology, no plasma weapons, no antimatter reactors. The humans were like children playing with fire, and now they would learn what real power looked like. "All ships, this is Admiral Velkorin," he announced across the fleet channel. "Today we claim another world for the Draven Empire. The humans have built a colony on our territory. They ignored our warnings. Now they will face the consequences. Prepare for invasion. This will be quick and easy." Cheers echoed through the communication channels. The coalition forces had never lost a battle. Why would today be different? Far away, hidden in the shadow of a massive gas giant's moon, the UNS Indomitable waited in silence. Captain Daejung sat in his command chair, watching the same tactical display that Velkorin was seeing. But his expression was very different. His face showed worry, calculation, and determination. 300 ships, said Commander Hana from the tactical station. Her fingers moved across the holographic controls. "We're one ship against 300. The math doesn't look good, Captain." "Math never tells the whole story," Daejung replied quietly. He turned to look at his bridge crew. Young faces, mostly. Lieutenant Tai-il was only 24 years old, but he was the best weapons officer in the Earth Defense Force. "How long until they reach New Busan?" 4 hours at their current speed," Hana answered. "The colony has 2.3 million people. We can't evacuate them in time," Daejung nodded slowly. He had known this moment was coming. The Indomitable had arrived 3 weeks early thanks to the experimental jump drive. 3 weeks ahead of schedule, but still too late to save everyone. Unless they could buy time. Unless they could make the aliens stop and think. "Show me their formation," he ordered. The main screen changed. Now it showed the alien fleet from above. The ships were spreading out, getting ready to surround the colony world. They were breaking formation because they thought they had already won. No human military ships in range. No defense platforms. Just a colony full of farmers, engineers, and families. "They're being careless," Tai-il observed from his station. The young lieutenant studied the display with sharp eyes. "Look at the gaps. If we came in from this angle, we could hit 6 or 7 ships before they could react. And then we'd be dead," another officer said. "1 ship against 300? That's suicide." "Maybe," Daejung said. "But what if we're not trying to win? What if we're just trying to make them scared? Make them regroup? Buy time for the civilians to evacuate?" Hana looked at her captain. She had served with him for 5 years. She knew that tone in his voice. He had made a decision. "You want to engage them?" "I want to remind them that humans don't give up," Daejung said. He stood from his chair. "Commander Hana, prepare a tactical plan. Use their carelessness against them. Lieutenant Tai-il, I want every weapon system online and ready. Engineering, start charging the quantum reactor to full power." "Sir," the engineering officer called out. "If we charge the reactor to full power, they'll detect us. The energy signature will light up every sensor in the system." "I know," Daejung replied with a small smile. "That's the point. Let them see us. Let them know we're here." The bridge crew moved with purpose. Hands flew across controls. Systems that had been running silent now came to life. The Indomitable began to hum with power. Deep in the ship's core, the quantum reactor started its charge sequence. Energy levels climbed higher and higher. On the alien flagship, a sensor officer suddenly jerked upright. "Admiral!" Energy spike detected. Massive power signature coming from the gas giant's moon. Velkorin turned quickly. "What kind of signature?" "Unknown type, sir." "But the energy levels are—" "They're enormous. Bigger than anything in our database." "Show me," the Admiral demanded. The tactical display updated. A new contact appeared, marked in red. A single ship emerging from behind the moon. Moving fast, very fast. Heading directly toward the center of the alien formation. "Identify that vessel," Velkorin ordered. His voice was calm, but his hands had tightened on the armrests of his command chair. "Working on it, sir. Scanning now, wait. I'm getting a hull signature. It's human, Velcorin laughed. The sound echoed across the bridge. One human ship? They sent one ship to defend a colony of millions? How desperate. How foolish. He stood up, all four arms gesturing dramatically. All ships prepared to destroy the human vessel. This will be a good lesson for them. Show them what happens when they challenge the Draven Empire. But General Crix, watching from his manted cruiser, did not laugh. He studied the energy readings more carefully. The numbers didn't make sense. That much power from a single ship? He had fought in 20 battles across the galaxy. He had seen every weapon system known to the Coalition races. This was different. This was wrong. Something's not right, Crix muttered to his tactical officer. Aboard the Indomitable, Daijung watched as his ship entered the heart of enemy territory. 300 alien warships surrounded them. Weapons locked on, shields charging. They were ready to fire. All weapons charged and ready, Captain, Tail reported. His voice was steady despite the odds. Tactical plan uploaded, Hana added. We have approximately 60 seconds before they open fire. Daijung took a deep breath. This was it. This was the moment that would decide everything. He thought about the families on New Busan, the children playing in the streets, the farmers working their fields, the engineers building a new world. They deserved a chance to live. They deserved protection. This is Captain Daijung of the United Nations ship Indomitable, he said calmly into the communication channel. He knew the aliens were listening. You have entered human space without permission. You have threatened a peaceful colony. We are giving you one chance to leave. Turn your ships around and go home. This is your only warning. Velcorin's laughter came through the speakers. Bold words for a dead man. Open fire! But Daijung was already moving. Lieutenant Tail, show them what human weapons can do. Fire all forward railguns. The Indomitable's weapons came alive. Not plasma. Not lasers. Not energy beams. Something the aliens had never seen before. Magnetic accelerators launching solid tungsten carbide projectiles at impossible speeds. Railguns that used pure physics and engineering to turn metal into devastating weapons. The first volley hit 3 Draven destroyers. The projectiles moved so fast that the alien shields didn't even register them as threats. The shields were designed for energy weapons. These were solid objects traveling at 30% the speed of light. They punched through shields like they weren't there. They tore through hulls like paper. They kept going until they hit the reactors. 3 alien ships exploded in brilliant flashes of light. Velcorin's laughter stopped. His sensor officer's voice was shaking. Sir, they're weapons. They're using kinetic projectiles. Our shields can't stop them. They're moving too fast. The energy signature. It's impossible. They're accelerating metal to relativistic speeds. All ships evasive maneuvers, Velcorin shouted. But it was too late. The Indomitable fired again, and again. Each shot was perfectly aimed. Each shot found a target. More alien ships died. In the first 60 seconds of battle, 12 coalition vessels were completely destroyed. The human ship, alone against 300, had drawn first blood. And the aliens were beginning to understand something terrifying. They had picked a fight with the wrong species. The alien fleet was in chaos, ships scattered in all directions, trying to avoid the deadly human weapons. Admiral Velcorin gripped his command chair so hard his knuckles turned white. On the main screen, another 3 Draven destroyers exploded as railgun projectiles tore through them. This is impossible, Velcorin shouted. How can one ship do this much damage? All vessels, focus all firepower on that human ship. Destroy it now! Hundreds of alien ships turned their weapons toward the Indomitable. Plasma cannons charged. Missile tubes opened. Energy weapons locked on target. Then they all fired at once. The space around the human ship turned bright with explosions and energy beams. On the bridge of the Indomitable, warning alarms screamed. Incoming fire from all directions, someone shouted. Activate defensive systems, Commander Hana ordered calmly. Her fingers danced across the controls. Point defense grid online. Electronic warfare suite active. Brace for impact. The aliens expected to see the human ship explode. Instead, something strange happened. Thousands of small guns appeared on the Indomitable's hull. These weren't the big railguns. These were smaller, faster weapons. They tracked every incoming missile and shot them down before they could hit. The computer systems were so advanced they could predict where each missile would be and destroy it with perfect accuracy. The plasma bolts were different. They couldn't be shot down, but when they hit the Indomitable's hull, they didn't do what the aliens expected. The human ship had no energy shields. Instead, it had thick armor, layer after layer of ceramic and metal compounds. When the plasma hit, the outer layer burned away, but the layers beneath stayed intact. The ship was designed to take damage and keep fighting. Damage report, Captain Dae-jung called out. Hull breaches on decks 7 and 12, the damage control officer reported. Sealing now. Armor holding at 78%. We can take a lot more hits before it becomes a problem. Dae-jung nodded. Good, Lieutenant Tae-il, keep firing. Commander Hana, get us moving toward the asteroid field. We need better cover. Asteroid field? Sir, that's dangerous, Hana said. But she was already plotting the course. She knew her captain. He always had a reason. Dangerous for them, safe for us. Dae-jung replied with a slight smile. Our navigation computer is better than theirs. We can use the asteroids as weapons. The Indomitable's engines roared to life, not the gentle fusion drives that most ships used. These were confined fusion reactors producing massive amounts of thrust. The human ship accelerated so fast that the alien vessels couldn't keep up. It was like watching a sports car race against trucks. They're running, an alien officer shouted on Velkorin's bridge. Then chase them, Velkorin ordered. All ships, pursuit speed. Don't let them escape. But General Crix was watching more carefully from his manted cruiser. He pulled up the tactical data and studied it. The human ship wasn't running away scared. It was moving with purpose, leading them somewhere. This is a trap, he muttered. They're taking us into that asteroid field on purpose. He was right. The Indomitable dove into the asteroid field at full speed. Behind it, the alien fleet followed. But as soon as the coalition ships entered the field, they had to slow down. Asteroids were everywhere, moving in unpredictable patterns. If they hit one at high speed, they would be destroyed. The human ship didn't slow down. Its computer calculated the position of every asteroid, predicting their movement seconds into the future. The Indomitable weaved between the rocks like it was dancing. The aliens struggled to follow, their ships moving carefully, trying not to crash. Now, Dae-jung said quietly. Tae-il fired the railguns again, but this time he wasn't shooting at ships. He was shooting at asteroids. The projectiles hit the space rocks and shattered them into thousands of smaller pieces. Those pieces flew in all directions right into the path of the pursuing alien vessels. 4 alien cruisers couldn't dodge in time. The debris peppered their hulls, creating holes and damaging their engines. 2 of them exploded. The other 2 went spinning out of control, crashing into more asteroids. This is insane. An alien captain screamed over the communication channel. They're using the asteroids as weapons. They're turning the entire field into a death trap. Velkorin's face had turned a dark shade of purple. All ships maintain pursuit. I don't care how dangerous it is. That human ship must be destroyed. But the aliens were learning to be afraid. They had come here expecting an easy victory. Instead, they were being hunted by a single ship that seemed to know every trick, every tactic, every way to turn their own strength against them. General Crix made a decision. He opened a private channel to his manted ships. All manted vessels, this is General Crix. Pull back to the edge of the asteroid field. Do not pursue further. We are not dying for Draven pride. 43 manted ships began to slow down and fall back. Other races saw this and started to question their own commanders. Why were they risking their lives for a Draven conquest? Why were they following orders that would get them killed? On the Indomitable, Commander Hana was tracking the alien formation. Captain, some of them are breaking off. The manted ships are retreating. Good, Dae-jung said. That means they're smart. They see this as a losing battle. How many ships are still pursuing? About 150, mostly Draven vessels. They're angry now. This became personal for them. Angry enemies make mistakes, Dae-jung observed. Let's give them something else to think about. Tae-il, find the biggest asteroid in this field. The young weapons officer worked quickly. Found one, Captain. It's huge. 3 kilometers across. Mass is about 2 billion tons. Perfect. Bring us alongside it. Engineering, prepare to use the main engines at full power. Hana understood immediately. Sir, you're going to push the asteroid. Use it as a weapon, not just push it. We're going to throw it at them. The Indomitable maneuvered close to the massive asteroid. Its engines turned toward the rock. Then they fired at maximum power. The thrust was incredible. Slowly, the asteroid began to move. It built up speed gradually, but once it started moving, it became unstoppable. The pursuing Draven ship saw the asteroid coming. It was moving faster than they expected, much faster, and it was heading right for the center of their formation. Evasive maneuvers, Velkorn shouted. All ships scatter. But they were in an asteroid field. There wasn't much room to scatter. Ships crashed into each other trying to get out of the way. Some managed to dodge. Others weren't so lucky. The massive asteroid plowed through the alien formation like a bowling ball through pins. 7 ships were destroyed instantly. 15 more were damaged. The Indomitable used the chaos to escape deeper into the asteroid field. Behind them, the alien fleet was broken, scattered, and demoralized. They had lost over 50 ships. They hadn't even managed to seriously damage the single human vessel. "Captain, we're receiving a transmission," the communications officer announced. "It's coming from New Busan. They're asking for our status." Dae-jung took a deep breath. "Tell them we're fine. Tell them to start evacuation procedures. We've bought them some time, but more ships are coming." "Sir," Hana said quietly, "we can't keep this up forever. Eventually, they'll figure out how to counter our tactics." "I know," Dae-jung replied, "but we don't need forever. We just need enough time." As the Indomitable disappeared deeper into the asteroid field, the alien fleet began to regroup. They had learned a hard lesson. The humans were not primitive. They were not weak. They were dangerous in ways the aliens had never imagined. This wasn't going to be the easy conquest they had expected. This was going to be a real war. And wars have a way of surprising everyone involved. On the edge of the system, 6 more ships emerged from faster-than-light travel. But these were not warships. They were civilian transports. Colony ships. Cargo haulers. They were unarmed and unarmored. And they were heading straight toward New Busan to evacuate the people. The aliens saw them on their sensors. Admiral Velkorn saw his opportunity. He smiled a cruel smile and gave new orders. If he couldn't destroy the warship, he would destroy everything the humans cared about. Captain Bora sat in the command chair of the Gwangju Dawn, her eyes fixed on the navigation display. The ship was old, a cargo transport that had been converted to carry colonists. It had no weapons, no armor, just big engines and lots of cargo space. Behind her ship, 5 other civilian vessels followed in formation. Together, they represented humanity's desperate attempt to save the people of New Busan. "Captain, we're picking up weapons fire ahead," her sensor officer reported. "Looks like a battle in the asteroid field. The Indomitable is still fighting." Bora nodded. She had been a military pilot once years ago. She knew what that meant. 1 ship against hundreds. Captain Dae-jung was buying them time with his life. The least she could do was use that time wisely. "How long until we reach New Busan?" she asked. 2 hours at maximum speed. Then push the engines harder. I want to be there in 90 minutes. On the bridge of the Indomitable, the warning came suddenly. "Captain, 6 new contacts entering the system. They're civilian transports heading for New Busan." Dae-jung felt his heart drop. He pulled up the tactical display and saw the 6 ships. They were so far away. The Indomitable was deep in the asteroid field, and the transports were on the opposite side of the system. Between them and safety stood what remained of the alien fleet. "Sir, the aliens are changing course," Commander Hana said. Her voice was tight with worry. 30 ships are breaking off from the main fleet. Fast cruisers. They're going after the transports. Lieutenant Tail did the calculations quickly. We can't reach them in time. Even at maximum speed, we'll be 10 minutes too late. The bridge went quiet. Everyone knew what that meant. Those transport ships carried families, children, people who just wanted to build a better life on a new world. They were defenseless. If the alien cruisers reached them first, it would be a massacre. Dae-jung stood up from his chair. His jaw was set, his eyes hard. "Set course for the transports. Maximum burn. Get us there as fast as possible." "Captain," Hana protested gently, "if we leave the asteroid field, we lose our tactical advantage. The entire alien fleet will have clear shots at us. We'll be exposed. I know. We might not survive. I know that too." Dae-jung looked at his crew. "But those ships are full of civilians, families, everything we're fighting for. We don't abandon them. We never abandon civilians. That's what makes us different from them. That's what makes us human," nobody argued. The Indomitable turned away from the safety of the asteroids and accelerated toward open space. Behind them, the alien fleet saw the opportunity and opened fire immediately. Plasma bolts and missiles filled the space around the human warship. Damage on all decks, someone shouted. Hull breaches on decks 7, 12, and 18. Point defenses overwhelmed. The ship shook violently. Fires broke out in several sections. The armor that had protected them so well was being worn down. But still the Indomitable pushed forward, racing to reach the transports before the alien cruisers did. On the Gwangju Dawn, alarms started screaming. Captain, 30 alien cruisers on intercept course. They'll reach us in 15 minutes. Bora's hands tightened on the armrests. 15 minutes. They needed 2 hours to evacuate New Busan. They wouldn't make it. She opened a channel to the Indomitable. Captain Daejung, this is Captain Bora. We see the alien ships. Don't sacrifice your vessel for ours. New Busan needs you more than it needs us. Daejung's voice came back steady and calm. Negative, Captain Bora. We're coming. Just hold on. Sir, you can't reach us in time. Save yourself. That's an order from a senior captain. I don't take orders from civilian captains, Daejung replied. And I don't abandon people. Indomitable out. Bora closed her eyes for a moment. Then she opened the ship-wide channel. All hands, this is the captain. We have 15 minutes before hostile forces arrive. I want every person who isn't essential to ship operations to get to the escape pods. That includes families and children first, Captain, her first officer said quietly. The escape pods won't save them. They're too far from any planet. They'll just die slower. Then we make our stand here, Bora said firmly. She pulled up the ship's systems. We have industrial tractor beams for moving cargo. Can we weaponize them? Her engineer blinked in surprise. Weaponized tractor beams? I mean, theoretically, we could grab debris and throw it, but it wouldn't be very accurate. We don't need accurate. We just need to make them think twice about coming closer. Do it. All ships, this is Gwangju Dawn. Anyone with tractor beams or cargo manipulators, prepare to use them as weapons. We're not going down without a fight. The Indomitable burst out of the asteroid field like a wounded animal. Smoke trailed from several breaches in the hull. The armor was scorched and pitted. But the ship was still moving, still fighting. Daejung saw the alien cruisers ahead closing in on the transports. Launch all missiles, he ordered. Not at the cruisers. Launch them into the space between the cruisers and the transports. Create a debris field. Make them slow down. Tae-il executed the order. Dozens of missiles launched, then detonated in a coordinated pattern. The explosions created a field of shrapnel and debris. It wasn't thick enough to stop the cruisers, but it was enough to make them cautious. They slowed down, their shields taking small hits from the debris. Those few seconds made all the difference. The Indomitable arrived, positioning itself between the alien cruisers and the civilian transports. The warship rotated, presenting its thickest armor toward the cruisers while keeping its weapons pointed at them. This is your last warning, Daejung transmitted to the alien ships. Turn back now or be destroyed, the alien commander laughed. You're damaged and outnumbered. You can't protect them all. Surrender now and we'll let the civilians live. Humans don't surrender, Daejung replied. Especially not when we're protecting our own. Attack if you dare, the cruisers attacked. But they had made a fatal mistake. They came in close, thinking the damaged human ship would be easy prey. Instead, they found themselves facing a new weapon. The Indomitable activated its close-range kinetic shotgun arrays. Thousands of small projectiles sprayed out in all directions, moving so fast they were invisible. 2 cruisers were shredded instantly, their hulls torn apart by the storm of metal. 3 more were badly damaged. The survivors broke off, pulling back in confusion and fear. They had expected an easy kill. Instead, they had found a cornered predator with fangs they hadn't seen before. Behind the Indomitable, the 6 civilian transports reached New Busan safely. They began emergency evacuation procedures. The battered warship had bought them the time they needed. Captain Bora sent a simple message to Daejung. Thank you, but the battle was far from over. The Indomitable was now running on backup power. Multiple systems were offline. The crew was exhausted, and somewhere out in the dark, Admiral Velkorin was planning his next move. He had lost too many ships, been humiliated too many times. Now he was going to use the one weapon that would surely destroy the human ship. He was going to use antimatter warheads, the most destructive weapons in the galaxy, and he didn't care who got caught in the blast. Admiral Velkorin stood on his bridge, breathing heavily. His pride was wounded, his fleet was broken, and now he was going to do something that would change everything. His hand moved over the control panel, activating the antimatter warheads. 12 missiles, each one carrying enough destructive power to vaporize a small moon. "Sir, those weapons are banned by galactic law," General Crix protested over the communication channel. "Using them is considered a war crime. The Council will execute you for this." "I don't care about the Council," Velcorin snarled. "That human ship has made me look like a fool." "It ends now. Fire the antimatter warheads." 12 missiles launched from the Draven flagship. They moved faster than the regular weapons, their engines burning bright. Each one was locked onto the Indomitable. There would be no escape. No defense could stop antimatter explosions. When matter and antimatter touched, they destroyed each other completely, releasing pure energy. The Indomitable would be erased from existence. On the Indomitable's bridge, alarm screamed louder than ever before. "Captain, antimatter signatures detected. 12 warheads incoming. Impact in 30 seconds. The crew froze. Everyone knew what antimatter meant. There was no defense, no escape. Commander Hana looked at Captain Dae-jung. "Sir?" Dae-jung's mind raced. 30 seconds. He looked at the reactor readouts. The quantum reactor was already damaged from the battle. But maybe, just maybe, they could use that damage. Engineering. "Can we overload the reactor?" "Sir, if we overload it, the ship will be destroyed." "Not completely. Just enough to create a spatial distortion. The antimatter missiles use sensors to track us. If we distort space around the ship, their guidance systems might get confused." "Do it now." The engineering team worked frantically. They pushed the quantum reactor beyond its safety limits. The ship began to shake. Reality itself seemed to bend around the Indomitable. Space warped and twisted in ways that shouldn't be possible. The antimatter missiles hit the distortion field. Their sensors went crazy, unable to lock onto the target. 9 missiles changed course, veering off in random directions. 3 detonated harmlessly in deep space, but 9 were still flying, and now they were heading back toward the alien fleet. "No. No, shoot them down," Velcorin screamed. His own weapons were coming back to kill him. The Draven ships tried to intercept the missiles, but antimatter warheads were designed to be unstoppable. They couldn't be shot down easily. One by one, the missiles reached the alien fleet and detonated. The explosions were apocalyptic. Pure white light filled space. When the light faded, 68 alien ships were simply gone, vaporized. Another 25 were crippled, their hulls torn apart by the shockwaves. General Crix had seen enough. He opened a channel to all manted ships. "This is General Crix. We are leaving the system immediately. Jump to emergency coordinates. Do it now." He looked at the tactical display one last time. The humans had turned certain death into a devastating counterattack. They had used the enemy's own weapons against them. He had fought in many wars, but he had never seen anything like this. 43 manted vessels activated their faster-than-light drives and vanished. Other races saw the manted retreat and began to question their own participation. Why were they here? Why were they dying for Draven pride? Several more species broke formation and jumped out of the system. The coalition fleet was falling apart, but Admiral Velcorin wasn't done. "All remaining ships form up. We still outnumber them. We can still win this." Then something happened that changed everything. A massive energy signature appeared at the edge of the system. Not one signature. 37 signatures, all of them human. Multiple contacts emerging from FTL. The sensor officer shouted. "It's a fleet. A human fleet." 37 human warships appeared in perfect formation. At their head was the UNS Unity, flagship of Admiral Hyun-soo. The Admiral had been fighting wars since before most of his crew was born. He had seen Earth's resource conflicts, humanity's first steps into space, and now this. Humanity's first real war against aliens. "This is Admiral Hyun-soo to all ships. Form wall formation. Prepare to engage. Let's show them what the Third Fleet can do." On the Indomitable, the crew cheered. Help had arrived. Captain Dae-jung allowed himself a small smile. "About time. I was starting to think we'd have to win this alone." Admiral Hyun-soo's voice came over the communication channel. "Captain Dae-jung, good to see you're still alive. Your ship looks like it went through hell." "It did, sir. But we're still fighting. Good man. Fall back and get those civilians to safety. We'll handle it from here." The Third Fleet advanced like a wall of steel and fire. But they weren't alone. From the carrier UNS Sejong, thousands of small craft began to launch. These weren't manned fighters. They were AI-guided drones, each one controlled by advanced computers. Each one was a miniature weapons platform with railguns and missiles. Captain Jin Ho commanded the Sejong from his bridge. All drones deployed, initiating swarm protocol. Let's see how they handle 10,000 angry robots. The drones moved like a school of fish, coordinating perfectly. They were too small and too numerous for the alien point defense systems to track. They swarmed around the alien ships, finding weak points in armor, targeting sensors and weapon systems. Each drone was expendable, but together they were devastating. The alien fleet tried to fight back, but they were overwhelmed. Human tactics were unlike anything they had faced. Where the aliens used massive ships in formation, humans used swarms of small craft. Where aliens relied on shields and energy weapons, humans used speed and kinetic projectiles. Every assumption the aliens had made about warfare was being proven wrong. Admiral Hunsu watched the battle unfold. All ships advance. Fire at will. Prioritize their command ships. Let's cut the head off this snake. The human fleet's railguns opened fire. Projectiles moving at incredible speeds tore through alien ships. The aliens' energy shields were useless. Their armor crumpled. Their formation broke apart as ships tried to flee or find cover that didn't exist. On the Draven flagship, Admiral Velkorin watched his fleet die. The tactical display showed red marks everywhere. Ships destroyed. Ships fleeing. Ships dead in space. He had come here with 300 vessels to conquer a primitive colony. Now he had fewer than 100 ships left, and those were being destroyed by the minute. "Admiral, we must retreat," his tactical officer pleaded. "We've lost. If we stay, we'll all die." Velkorin's pride warred with his survival instinct. He had been so certain of victory, so confident in his superiority. Now he faced a choice: accept defeat and live with the shame, or die fighting and take as many humans with him as possible. Pride won. "All ships, ignore the fleet. Set course for New Busan. If we're going to die, we're taking that colony with us. Maximum speed. Ramming formation." The remaining Draven ships turned toward the planet. They weren't going to fight anymore. They were going to crash into New Busan and destroy it through sheer mass and kinetic energy. It was a suicide run, but Velkorin didn't care anymore. Admiral Hunsu saw the move immediately. "They're going for the colony. All ships intercept course. We can't let them reach the planet." But the Draven ships had a head start. Some would get through. The math was simple and terrible. Even if the human fleet destroyed most of them, a few would survive long enough to hit New Busan. The planet would be devastated. Millions would die. On the Indomitable, Captain Dae-jung saw what was happening. His ship was damaged, barely functioning. But there was one thing left they could do. One final card to play. He looked at Commander Hana, the jump drive. "We have one jump left in it, right?" Hana understood immediately. Her face went pale. "Sir, the drive is barely stable. If we use it now with all this damage, the ship might not survive the jump. We could break apart in transit, but if it works, we could jump right in front of their formation, block their path to New Busan. It would probably destroy the ship, sir. The stress alone." Dae-jung looked at the screen showing New Busan. He could see the colony from here. Lights on the surface, cities where people lived, where children played, where families hoped for a better future. His hand moved toward the authorization button. One more impossible thing. One more miracle. That's all they needed. Captain Dae-jung's hand was inches from the authorization button. One press and the Indomitable would make its final jump. The ship would appear directly in front of the alien suicide run. The damaged vessel would probably break apart from the stress, but it would stop the aliens from reaching New Busan. It would save millions of lives. His crew knew what he was thinking. They could see it in his eyes. Commander Hana stood beside him, ready to execute the order. Lieutenant Tail had already calculated the jump coordinates. They were all prepared to die if it meant protecting their people. Then a voice crackled over the communication system. "Captain Dae-jung, this is Captain Bora of the Gwangju Dawn. Hold your position." Dae-jung looked at the tactical display in confusion. The 6 civilian transports had finished loading evacuees from New Busan. They should have been running to safety. Instead, they were moving into a defensive formation around the planet. "Captain Bora, what are you doing?" "Get those people to safety." "The civilians are safe, Captain," Bora replied. "They're in the escape pods heading away from the planet. But we're not running. These are our homes, our world. If you're willing to sacrifice your ship for us, then we're willing to stand and fight beside you. Your ships have no weapons. No military weapons, Bohr corrected. But we have industrial tractor beams, mining lasers, cargo manipulators. We colonists are good at improvising. Watch this. The Guangzhou Dawn's massive tractor beam activated. It grabbed a piece of debris from a destroyed alien ship, a chunk of metal as big as a bus. The beam spun the debris in circles, building up speed, then released it. The metal flew toward the approaching Draven ships at incredible velocity. The improvised projectile hit a Draven cruiser square in the bow. The cruiser's shields flickered and died. The ship's nose crumpled from the impact. It began to tumble out of control. The other 5 transport ships followed Bora's example. They grabbed everything they could find. Destroyed ship parts, asteroids, even cargo containers. They turned their industrial equipment into weapons. It wasn't pretty. It wasn't military tactics, but it was working. Captain Dae-jung watched in amazement. These were farmers, engineers, and teachers. They weren't soldiers, but they were fighting like warriors because their home was threatened. That's what it meant to be human. When everything was on the line, anyone could become a hero. Commander Hana, Dae-jung said with a smile. Cancel that suicide jump. We're going to use the jump drive, but not to die. We're going to put this ship exactly where it can do the most good. Calculate jump coordinates. I want us between New Busan and that Draven formation. Sir, the ship might not survive the jump in our current condition. Then we better make it count. Do it. The Indomitable's jump drive activated one final time. The ship vanished from its position near the civilian transports and reappeared directly in the path of the Draven suicide run. The damaged warship planted itself like an ancient castle, refusing to move. Every remaining weapon came online. Railguns fired. Missiles launched. Even the damaged point defense systems spat out projectiles. Lieutenant Tae-il worked his controls with precision. He was exhausted, burned, and bleeding from a head wound, but his hands were steady. Every shot counted. Every projectile had to hit. There would be no second chances. Admiral Hyun-soo's fleet arrived moments later. The Third Fleet caught the Draven ships in a crossfire. The aliens were trapped between the Indomitable's stubborn defense and the overwhelming firepower of fresh human warships. Captain Jin-ho's drone swarm added to the chaos, thousands of small craft picking apart the alien formation. The civilian transports continued their improvised bombardment. They were clumsy and their aim wasn't perfect, but they kept throwing debris and asteroids at the enemy. The aliens had to divide their attention between multiple threats. They couldn't focus on any single target. On the Draven flagship, systems were failing. Fires burned on every deck. Half the crew was dead or injured. Admiral Velkorin stared at the tactical display with empty eyes. He had lost. Completely and utterly lost. His pride had destroyed his fleet. His arrogance had killed thousands of his own people. Admiral, we must surrender, his tactical officer begged. Please, we have families. We want to live. Velkorin looked at the human ships surrounding him. At the civilian transports fighting with mining equipment. At the damaged Indomitable that refused to die. He had called humans primitive. He had mocked their technology. He had been so very wrong. With a trembling hand, he transmitted the universal surrender code. All across the battlefield, surviving Draven ships powered down their weapons. The battle was over. Humanity had won. On the Indomitable, the bridge crew erupted in cheers. They had done it. Against impossible odds, they had protected New Busan. Captain Dae-jung allowed himself to collapse into his chair. Every muscle in his body ached, but they were alive. The colony was safe. Final casualty reports came in over the next hour. The coalition had lost 247 ships. The humans had lost no military vessels, though the Indomitable would need 3 months of repairs. Civilian casualties were 0. Every person on New Busan had survived. Admiral Hyun-soo sent a simple message to Dae-jung. Well done, Captain. The battle recordings have been sent to Earth and broadcast throughout human space. The galaxy is going to know what happened here today. 6 months later, Captain Dae-jung stood in the Galactic Council chamber on Space Station Harmony 7. He had been promoted to Admiral. The Indomitable was fully repaired and back on patrol. And now he was here, representing humanity to the galaxy. 23 different alien civilizations filled the chamber. General Crix was there, representing the Mantid Confederacy. Admiral Velkorin was not. He was in prison, awaiting trial for war crimes, especially for using antimatter weapons. The council leader spoke. Admiral Daejung, we have reviewed the battle recordings from New Busan. We have questions about human military capabilities. Please explain your tactical philosophy. Daejung stood and looked at the assembled aliens. Our philosophy is simple. We fight as if everything we love depends on it, because it usually does. We don't have energy shields because we learned that not getting hit is better than blocking hits. We don't use plasma weapons because we discovered that old solutions sometimes work best. We don't surrender because surrender means someone else controls the fate of those we protect. That's not about technology. That's about being human. General Crick stood. I propose that humanity be granted full membership in the Galactic Council. They have proven themselves in battle. More importantly, they have shown honor, creativity, and the courage to protect the innocent. The galaxy needs species like this, the vote was called. One by one, the civilizations voted yes. Humanity was accepted into the galactic community, but the acceptance came with respect, even fear. 3 species immediately requested human military advisors. 5 more wanted to establish trade agreements. The galaxy had learned its lesson. Don't underestimate humans. Back on New Busan, the colony had been rebuilt. A monument stood in the capital square, made from a piece of the Indomitable's damaged hull. The names of everyone who fought in the battle were inscribed on it. The crew of the warship, the colonists who fought with mining equipment, everyone who had refused to give up. The inscription read, "They came to conquer." We taught them what it means to be human. Captain Bora, now the elected governor of New Busan, stood before the monument with her daughter. The little girl looked up at the twisted metal. "Mama, will the bad aliens come back?" Bora smiled and knelt down to her daughter's level. "Maybe someday. But if they do, they'll remember what happened last time. They'll remember that humans don't quit. We protect our own. We fight for what we love, and we win. Because we're human? Exactly because we're human." In orbit above the colony, 6 new warships patrolled. The Indomitable was fully repaired and leading them. Commander Hana now had her own ship, the UNS Defiant. Lieutenant Tai-il had been promoted to commander and served as first officer aboard the Indomitable under its new captain. Admiral Daejung, now commanding the entire sector from Earth, sent regular messages to the crew. Today's message was simple: stay sharp. Stay ready. The galaxy knows about us now. Some will want to be our friends. Others will want to test us. Either way, we show them the same thing we showed the Draven. Humans don't back down. Humans don't surrender. And humans always protect their own. Commander Hana read the message from the bridge of the Defiant and smiled. She transmitted a reply. "Ready for the next impossible mission, sir." Daejung's response came back quickly. "With humans, impossible just means we haven't tried yet. Stay safe out there, Commander. And remember what we learned at New Busan." "What's that, sir?" "That when a human warship emerges, it's not the humans who should be afraid. It's everyone else." And across the galaxy, in council chambers and military academies, on trading stations and colony worlds, the story of New Busan was told and retold. The story of how 300 ships attacked one colony and lost. The story of how humans fought with damaged warships and mining equipment. The story of how courage and creativity defeated numbers and power. The galaxy had learned a new truth. Humans were not the most advanced species. They were not the oldest or the wisest.